the Sector for Cybercrime was established in the Albanian General Prosecution. The Albanian National Agency for Cybersecurity, ALCIR, was established on November 2011 as a public legal entity under the Prime Minister authority. ALCIR's scopes of activity is to identify, detect, and take measures to protect against free cyber attacks in accordance with the legislation in force. Duties and responsibilities of ALCIR cover both policy-making responsibilities and technical ones. The staff is composed by 6 employees, director and 5 experts. As Yona mentioned in her presentation before today, during these years, agency work was concentrated mostly in prevention. Therefore, establishing policies, standards, and procedures in this area, training IT personnel in public administration, organizing awareness campaigns, and establishing contacts with key actors in the field. In early 2014, ALCIR took the initiative and led an interagency working group for drafting national policy paper on cybersecurity. The document is towards completion and expected to be approved soon. In this document, we have assessed the current situation and the trend related to cybersecurity in our country. The government of Albania is currently implementing, under the leadership of Minister of Innovation and Public Administration, several programs to increase the digitalization of government services to citizens. The ability to protect this new system and services will be increasingly important for Albania. Based on these expected developments and in line with NATO objectives in cyber defense, we emphasized the importance and the necessity of establishing CERTs in different institutions, such as MINCERT at Ministry of Defense and GovCERT as ACSI. SICE ACSI administrates the government data center, many systems and government network, and of course, at private critical information infrastructures. The increased use of ICT technology raises the need for capacity building and increased interinstitutional cooperation for the prosecution and prevention of risks arising from cybercrime. Also, it is necessary a close cooperation in regional and global level and the improvement of legislation for the security of networks and information in accordance with NATO and EU practice. In order to fulfill the legal framework, ALCIR has begun work on drafting a new law on security of networks and information systems. We are dealing with many key issues, but regarding the topic of this panel, I will focus on 2 of them. The first, establishment of a counseling body for strategic planning and responsible for supervising the policy implementation, including all the relevant entities in cyber field. And the second, reorganizing the process of incident response through national CERT. Creating and managing a computer incident response team, especially a national one, generally is not so easy. We are considering 2 options: using in-house capability, CERT capacity building as part of the permanent ALCIR staff, or outsourcing incident response efforts, establishing a team composed by both public and private well-known experts who will intervene whenever a certain incident occurs. To take the right decision, we are taking into account a number of basic factors. The first one, number of incidents. Our statistics show that the number of incidents is increasing, but it is still quite low. So there is no need to keep regular personnel around to wait for incidents to occur. Cost. The overall cost of dealing with security-related incidents, due to the low number of them, is likely to be lower because the outsourced incident response personnel will need to deal only with incidents that do occur. And the third, expertise portfolio. Outsourced experts usually will offer different professional capabilities that are often not available within one particular organization. We are still discussing, but we believe that the second option is more convenient in our situation, also supported by the following reasons. We can hire the best experts in the field because the wage level in public administration is lower than in private sector. Due to actual recruiting procedures, we face difficulties in hiring the best experts in the field, and their frequent turnover is one of the biggest challenges that we faced in the recent years. To be part of this team, experts of the field may apply regardless of where they work full-time, and the selection will be carried out by a special commission. Winners will be equipped with security clearance issued by the relevant authority. That was my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Now I give the floor to Mr. Angel Kusic. In the period of 2012 to 2013, he was Minister of the Interior of the Tools of Canon in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and currently his position is Head of Department for Computer Networks and Telecommunication Systems in the Ministry of Security in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So please, you have the floor.
Good morning, everybody. Firstly, I want to thank you, Predrag and other presentations to this event. My name is Amir Kusic. I'm coming from Ministry of Security in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm head of department for computer networks and telecommunication systems. And I was president of the working group for SET establishing in Bosnia and Herzegovina. In my presentation, I will try to explain my opinion regarding SET, like domain in information security. As you know, information security, we can look like information on paper, electronic information, and other. I will focus on this presentation on electronic aspect of information security because it's relevant for this item. We cannot, we can't look information security with electronic aspect like cybersecurity and cybercrime. And we can compare also that areas. How I see that areas. In my opinion, cybersecurity is a part of information security. Also, cybercrime is part of information security. We can compare that on the way that relevant bodies for cybersecurity have prevention jurisdiction. The other side, relevant authorities like law enforcement agency have jurisdiction with operational action, investigation, and other. If we have a relevant body for prevention, we will have less consequences and pursuits, investigation, prosecutions, and violent judgment. If we compare SEP and law enforcement agencies' jurisdictions, as I said, SEP, in my opinion, can have more prevention activities. The other side, law enforcement agencies have, as I said, reactions, operational activities, and it can be result less criminal acts and office. Current situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding set establishing is unfortunately that we have not official decision by our government regarding that. I said that I was president of working group for CERT established in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was during 2012. Before that, Council of Ministers of Bosnia and Herzegovina adopted a strategy for CERT establishment in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The working group worked 1 year, and that working group created a final document for Council of Ministers. It was a project proposal for CERT establishing in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but as I said, unfortunately, today we haven't official decision regarding CERT. The reason is very simple. It is lack of political will and complicated state structure in Bosnia and Herzegovina also. Now we can react on the cybersecurity incidents and other similar problems. Only as Ministry of Security is because we have jurisdictions we have jurisdictions which defined in the law about ministries and other government authorities in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is Article 14, collecting data of importance for public safety. I hope that we will have official decision about that. We have election before 6 months, but unfortunately today we have new government also. But I think that will be solved during this month, and after that we will. I expect that we will have a final decision about service establishment. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. Husic. Now I give the floor to Mr. Vlad Božić from SER Slovenia, which will speak about our SER. He is the head of the Slovenian National SER, which was established in 1995, and between 2000 and 2008, he was chairman of the European SER group. And the rest of the thing, I think he will say about himself.
Thank you. Okay, in my presentation, I'm going to talk about the role of CERT. As already mentioned, we established our CERT back in 1995, so it's going to be 20 years this autumn, and we're going to celebrate that. I'm going to talk about, from our perspective, my experience, how to set up a CERT and what is the role of a CERT. Now, going back and trying to remember what the original idea of behind the formation of the first CERT was in the United States, which is now called the CERT Coordination Center, it was to form a bigger picture. The internet worm that attacked the then small internet in 1988 or 1989 highlighted a simple fact: that system administrators cannot do the job on their own. There is a need for a service where somebody would collect information from various systems, various nodes on the internet, and compile it into a big picture. Here's a bigger picture that goes back, I think, roughly 10 years, and it's about denial of service attacks between hacker groups in Slovenia. One of them is called the Balkan Warriors, and so on. And these are the notes of my colleague while we were investigating a series of attacks during the course of a couple of months. Resulting from that, the police was able to do 20 house searches and approximately that many arrests. And the big picture, of course, is what enables you to do the services as a CERT. And those are coming, again, from my point of view. First of all, is to have a known point of contact in the country. That is very important. It sounds simple, but it's very important. When you have an incident and you see that it's coming from a network in Albania, for instance, it's good to have an address where we can turn to and ask for assistance. We provide alerting services, alerting for the general public, for the system administrators. One of the examples was Heartbleed last year. It was a big thing, so we had a major campaign going in checking out how many vulnerable servers there are in Slovenia, notifying the ISPs, or more correctly, the owners of the autonomous systems located in the country. Then we do vulnerability handling. When there's a vulnerability known, we have to think about what does that mean for our environment and how to approach the various stakeholders, if I may use this word, how to approach them, how to give them advice, and how them to investigate the incident when somebody breaks into their computer. We do that by acquiring knowledge, building on knowledge, and also providing training for our partners. And whenever an incident happens, we coordinate the response actions. If you have a major incident in the country, you need somebody that's going to talk to everybody involved and suggest appropriate measures. It's wrong to think that if somebody attacks a bank, the IT department in the bank will know what to do. That's the common misconception. They have no idea because they don't practice those scenarios. So you need somebody that's experienced in the area, that has been involved in incidents, and that's going to be able to suggest to them what are the first steps that they can take. So it's now we're beginning to see where I'm coming from. I think it's not just about the law and strategy. I'm going to talk about that later on. But how will you react when something happens? That's why I have the firefighters here. We are not the internet police. We are the internet firefighters. And when there's a fire, the firefighters don't tell you that they need first to have a strategy on fighting fires in the country, and then they'll come and see what they can do with your fire. I'm a bit cynical, but okay, you get the idea. You'll have to think about what evidence you will gather, and you'll have to think about, is the data going to reach you about the incident? Are people going to report incidents to you? Do they know that you exist if you're a national cert? And then you have to cope with silly things like, when there's a major incident, your police will come and say, well, I've put in about 10 hours of overtime. Is that going to be paid? How about night shifts? When you have a major incident and people will have to work during the night to resolve things. Those are maybe silly things, but operationally you have to think about that. In order to be able to perform functions of CERT, you need to communicate with various partners. Again, stakeholders, if I may abuse this, often abused word. You have to talk to other incident response teams. This is very important. You have to talk to other incident response team about the incidents they handle, the things that you see as a problem. Internet service providers, you have to build and gain their trust. Okay, you can pass a law in your country saying that the ISPs will have to communicate with the CERT. That doesn't mean that that communication is going to be fruitful. So you have to build on trust, you have to gain their trust, have a team that's capable and competent, and then the ISPs will see the benefits of communicating with you. Another example, banking sector, I'm going to touch upon later on. Various incident reporters, general public, law enforcement, and so on. I invite you to look at this document. It's still one of the best documents. ENISA now has several documents, also very good step-by-step guide to set up the CERT and so on. But this list is also a very good one, and you can see the basic structure of the incident response. I'm having to waste a lot of time here. You're welcome to do it. Look upon it on your own. Okay, I'm going to illustrate with a number of incidents that we had recently, just on what I think the role of a CERT is, or highlight some aspects of the workings of a CERT. Last week in January, we had a week-long phishing incident against 6 Slovenian banks. It was the first major phishing incident. Before that, we only had small incidents, a couple of mails being sent out, and one side there posing as a Slovenian bank, and that was it. Now it was a week-long, very intensive. 6 banks targeted. Here you see the graph, because we're located in the academic and research network of Slovenia since our inception. We have the ability to look on the servers of the customers of the academic and research network and check some of the things. And here you see we went to see how many mails we received. It started on 23rd, and that was during the weekend. There was a pause, so you see also the hackers also spend their weekends offline, apparently. And then on Monday, it began, it lasted a couple of days, and then it died off by the end of the week. It was a major incident, so we located 22 redirection sites and 20 landing sites. Those were distributed globally, basically all over the place. We received 84 reports on this incident. Why do I highlight that? Because I think this is a very good number. It came most of them came from the general public. This means that we have enough people knowing that we exist and enough people that will intercept things on the net and forward them to us. One of my colleagues said that we actually have a pretty large human-based honeypot, which catches the incidents. This is also important. If you have a cert and you stay in your offices and don't tell people that you exist and you only talk to the Secret Service and the law enforcement, you're not going to get that. When something happens, the media will contact you and you will have no idea that this is happening in your country. So you have to work on establishing a good and trusted relationship with the general public. Based on that, we fired off 42 what we call investigations in our workflow, which was mostly about the phishing site takedowns and putting all those URLs on the safe browsing list. So the browsers said, well, this is a suspected phishing site. You probably all have bumped into one of those while browsing the internet. Now, how did we do that? We communicated with other certs. So again, you have to network with other certs, you have to get to know them. And we got some interesting results from here. We got very good results, phishing sites being taken down in Russia and in Belarus pretty quickly. Because the conventional wisdom is, if it's something in Russia, you don't bother because there's nobody there and they're not going to listen. It's wrong. And our case proves that. The cert GIV in Russia was very good, very quick. On the other hand, the colleagues from France, which have government national cert for a number of years, were really slow and we got no response from them. So it's not, sometimes what you expect. And if you think about, where do these guys get all the web servers to put the phishing sites on? You probably don't know. We do, because we've worked on that in the past years. And here we have a graph of web defacements that we recorded in Slovenia. Those are defaced pages of Slovenian companies, schools, and other institutions. And we had a really interesting high peak. We call it the Joomla peak. You probably know the Joomla content management system. It was riddled with security problems, with security holes. So we know how they get their web servers all around the place. It is the unupdated content management systems, so unmaintained web servers. This was a simple case. In more complicated cases, we had to do some malware analysis. So we had to go down and get dirty in the assembly, which means you need competent people. It touches on what was heard from an Albanian colleague. You need competent people. Sometimes the money is motivations, but other than that, my personal experience is, apart from the money, you have to have good working conditions. It's really important. Even more money, yes. Sometimes they leave you from the private sector because they need more money, but more important than that, if you have a good working environment and they can achieve results with their work, then the money becomes a secondary issue. Here's another example. I'm mentioning this because this highlights our cooperation with the law enforcement. This was a mail, it's in Slovenia. It was directed towards accountants in small companies. And the payload, the attachment was actually a virus, a Trojan, that contained the keylogger. And the author was from Maribor in Slovenia. And he assembled a gang of people around him, and they managed to steal 2 million euros, which is a big number, not for Slovenia only, but globally. So it got the media attention also outside of Slovenia. This case, it was a 6 months of investigation where the law enforcement did their own stuff and we did our own. So what was our stuff? We did the malware analysis. We have a small laboratory, so we throw the malware and see what it does. So we analyze it, and based on that analysis, we were able to pick up some evidence that helped the police locate the perpetrator. Now, in 2012, we had the attack, anonymous attacks, because Slovenia signed the ACTA agreement. So what did we do? We looked at what the anonymous does, and we set up the barriers for denial of service attacks, and so they didn't come through the barriers. They were unsuccessful. The lesson that we learned from that incident is that you have to think about media relationships. It was very intensive. 2 weeks lasted a series of attacks, and we were overwhelmed not by attacks only, but by media attention. And the media needs somebody to talk to, and our partners in the government were very reluctant to talk to the media. Then we also have the APT, the targeted attacks against the government officials. Here is email for somebody working in the working group for the situation in Kosovo a couple of years back. We analyzed that, discovered that the PDF contained some malicious code, and where did it all end? Well, it tried to contact some systems in Beijing or China. So probably it was Chinese. We don't know. And then we talked about the critical infrastructure. We had a power plant in Slovenia. The picture is symbolic, of course. I'm not allowed to tell you which power plant it was. And we got an information from the Industrial Control Systems Cert from the United States. There's something strange on their web server, and there was some source code lying there. What was the source code about? The power plant management decided that they were going to put their SCADA systems online. So they will cut costs, and the employees will be able to do their work from home. And they outsourced this to a very incompetent company that only did a couple of websites. Previously had no idea about the security, and they planted some backdoors to gain access for debugging purposes, of course. And the code was lying for everybody to see. So we were probably not the only ones that pick up that code. Then I mentioned the awareness raising program. Here you see a small ad that we put on the television. It's only a part of our activities. And since 2011, we are doing a specialized national awareness raising campaign. Here's our website. You can see the blue button says, I need help. And the red button says, report fraud. And then you have groups like web frauds, e-banking, online shopping, social networks, virus protection, and then advice for entrepreneurs, advice for small businesses. We're also involved in another part of awareness raising, which is targeted towards the children and their parents. We also discovered that the reports that we started issuing a couple of years back, which we make every effort to make it really readable for the general public, is a very good way to promote ourselves and highlight the issues that are really important in the country. Okay, those were the examples of things that we did. Remember the 6 banks that were targeted in Slovenia? I've discussed the case with Tibor from the Croatian National Cert. The Croatian banks are being now attacked, well, not banks, but the users of those banks, attacked by the same gang. So we know it's the same gang behind that, so we're sharing information here and on the mail. Our teams are sharing information. Again, you cannot do it on your own. You have to communicate with others. So if you ask me what the information or cybersecurity is about, I think it has 3 pillars. Planning, how you design your networks and your services. Response, because with planning, you never have systems that are 100% secure. We know the traffic security to everything else. So you need ways to respond. So you need to have, you need the cert. And then you have, and I think, well, I'm biased because I've been working for a cert for 20 years now. I think the response is the central thing which feeds to planning and education. Why? Let me give you an example. You have the government that says, well, we need awareness raising in computer security, and we're going to put that much money into it. So you select somebody, and then somebody receives that money, you put out a public tender, and then they say, so what are we going to do? Let's do some brochures on how to pick a good password. And that's really boring. People will not read that. and you need operational data for seeing are the attacks on e-banking problem in your country, or is online shopping the problem? We discovered in Slovenia it's online shopping. People buy tractors online, and they don't receive them, and they pay a couple of €1,000 to scammers, which are located probably in Nigeria. So you need this operational data that the CERT can collect that feeds into the planning process and also in the orchestration. So now you know the place I'm coming from. If I'm being cynical, I can say that we can drown in strategy, and that's not going to help us extinguish the fires. Remember the firefighters from before? You need firefighters, people that are knowledgeable and know how to deal with the problem, regardless of what the strategy is. That doesn't mean that the strategies are unimportant. Yes, we are also in the process of getting a national strategy on cybersecurity. In Slovenia, it's in the final stages, but I think that sometimes the strategy can distract us, the work on strategies, and we think that strategies and legal frameworks are all that is important. No, basically, I think the operational structures and operational capabilities are more important. Just for your information, here is what the part of the strategy that talks about the CERT cooperation looks like. We're going to have 3 CERTs. This is the plan. A government CERT that will take care of the government infrastructure, will have a national role, have a public face, and do a lot of stuff, and then we'll have the military capabilities. I'll have to rush because I'm probably all the time. I think it's very important that if you form a CERT, you start talking to each other. Again, I've said that before. You have to become a member of the TFC CERT in Europe, the Trusted Introducer, get listed there, and then start going to the meetings. Start going to the meetings, start exchanging your experience with other people's experience. Don't be discouraged if you don't know enough. Nobody is going to tell you, well, you're a new CERT, a newcomer, you don't know anything, just shut up. No, it's a very welcoming community. People are willing to share their knowledge and tell you answers to the questions that you might have and they know who to answer. And the first form of incident response and security teams. What's the Balkan situation? Well, here you see the members. The gray areas are where there are no first members. And you can have a CERT if you're not a member of those institutions. You're only halfway there, if I'm being honest. Then go and join the exercises. The Cyber Europe exercises organized by ELISA, and the NATO exercises, the Cyber Coalition exercises. And I'm going to finish with a slide showing why the information security is important. Yes, there is growth. And for Slovenia, it has been for the last 6 years, we now have a six-fold growth of the number of incidents. So 6 years, 6 times the number of incidents, which means that, yes, this is one of the ways that you can try and convince the government that it's important that they fund a team large enough. Okay, thank you very much. I'm more than happy to answer any of the questions I have now or the end of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Božić. Now I give the floor to our last speaker, Tanya Nikova from Bulgaria. Since 2012, she is head of analytics and research department at Bulgaria, and since 2009 up to now, she works in executive agency election communication networks and informational systems. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Nikova, and today I will try to provide you a short overview of Bulgarian computer security incident response team. I can't believe I can skip this slide because there are historical overview of documents and directives in European level for establishment of CIRTs. Bulgarian CIRTs was established in 2008 With the efforts and support of the ENISA, Serb Hungary and Bulgarian administration, in July 2009, was accredited for its activities by European organization Trusted Introducer. Mr. Bojic said yes about this. Serb Bulgaria is a governmental body which acts as national center due to its responsibility. We are national contact point and in continuous communications and cooperation with the European network of CIRTs, with the Global Response Center of the ITU, and with NATO Computer Incident Response capability. After the establishment of CIRT Bulgaria, the technical support was outsourcing to the external IT company, and since August 2012, these activities associated with our main objectives were transferred back to us. Organizational structure of CERT Bulgaria included an administrative unit, analyze and research unit, and technical unit. Administrative part is covered by the general administration of the agency, which organization structure we belong to, Executive Agency, Electronic Communication Network and Information System. As I said, Bulgarian CERT is a governmental. Actually, according to ENISA's categorization, it is de facto national, meaning that it combines the responsibility for protection of the information system regarding to the state administration in the country, as well as with responsibilities as a point of contact for international matters. On this slide are listed the service provided by CERT Bulgaria. I will not go into detail, but I should mention that they are in accordance with the methodological guidelines of ENISA. I should also mention that there are a small portion of the service that ENISA recommended for providing for CERTs. We hope that this list will be extended in the near future with the growth of our capacity in terms of expertise, technical support, and last but not least, sufficient financial resources. As CERT Bulgaria was credited with joint national and international efforts, I will say a few words about the international relations we have. These are the organizations that we mentioned relations: NATO, ENISA, ITU, Compact, CERT Romania, and other foreign organizations at operational level. Of course, CERT Bulgaria has its own portal, which provides news, alerts, and information about the recent reported vulnerabilities. There is a dedicated part in our portal which is accessible only by the people in charge responsible for information security in the state administration and the local government. This is the general picture which helped and led to the establishment of Bulgarian CERT, and now I will focus on the barriers we face. Based on our experience, I would like to highlight the positive role of certain factors and to provide you with the relevant recommendations. First of all, the legal framework. At the time of creation of Bulgarian CERT, the legal framework in place provided us with the room for successful establishment. It included two major regulations, the Electronic Government Act and the Ordinance on the General Requirements for Interoperability and Information Security. These acts regulated the activities of the administrative bodies when working with electronic documents, provision of administrative services through electronic channel, and the exchange of electronic documents among the administrative bodies. They also regulated the requirements for achieving network and information security in the information system of the administrative bodies and indicate the state bodies responsible for developing and pursuing the policy in the field of network and information security. In our country, this is the Ministry of Transport, Information Technology and Communication. The ordinance in the general requirements for interoperability and information security, incident section for organization of network and information security, policy for network and information security, protection against unwanted software, incident management, and so forth. Of course, we believe that ideally there should be a law regulation the cyberspace is a whole, and the CERT in particular. However, at this point, there is no such in our country. As I mentioned before, the Bulgarian CERT is a directorate with the Executive Agency Electronic Communication Network and Information System. This has some disadvantage in terms of administrative independence, and this independence matters in terms of funding and when concluding cooperation agreement, for example. Cooperation is vital for the function of CERT. It makes possible exchange of information, exchange of experience, consultation, and so forth. Cooperation on both national and international level is really important. At national level, the relation with other CERT and with the law enforcement authorities is crucial. Also important are the relation with the international service provider, telecoms, or other private organization in the area. It would be great if these organizations act proactive in case of incidents in their network. They should be prepared to remind it the spread of an incident and also to report such events to your CERTs, not waiting for you to inform them for creation breach of cyber incident. Bulgarian CERT is not a good example in this respect. We cannot enforce measures to the internet service provider, as of course this is some issues related to the existing regulation framework. On the previous slide, I spoke about some international organization which CERT Bulgaria maintains contact with. Here I would like to give some more details. CERT Bulgaria has signed a joint declaration for cooperation with the Romanian CERT. I mentioned ENISA several times, and our advice is look for close contact with ENISA for any problems you encounter. They will readily respond and do their best to help you. Besides, take full advantages of ENISA guidelines, which you can find on its website. Since this workshop is supported by NATO, I would like to say that we have signed a memorandum of understanding with NATO Cyber Defense Management Authority for cooperation in the field of cyber defense. Previously, I mentioned cybersecurity strategy of the European Union. In fact, every country should prepare its own national cybersecurity strategy. In generally, it addresses to the national efforts in the field of cybersecurity. And in details, it specifies the roles and responsibility of various state authorities regarding cybersecurity and facilitates the interaction between them and CERTs. That's why the diagram of these roles and responsibility is proposed by European Union and shown on this slide. Be ready to encounter some everyday barriers, as always the lack of sufficient funding and difficulties and recruiting knowledgeable IT experts. That was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Before I give you the floor for any questions, I would like to ask our speakers if they can share with us some joint cooperation activities with the other countries of the Balkans, because our topic here is cyber security in the Balkans. So please, if you can share some activities.
Okay.
Yes.
If I may start. Well, I would point out the activity of helping the formation of the CERT in Montenegro. We also sponsored them for the first membership. We've been in several meetings and we discussed on how we think is the best way to form a CERT, set up the operations, and so on. So this is one positive side, and we are very keen on helping other CERTs in the region with our knowledge. So no problem here with the information with sharing the knowledge on what we think are the best practices. So we're in discussion with the colleagues from Serbia on how to set up the capabilities there, and we're quite ready to also help any other countries that might need some input on the operational side of the things, and getting them connected to other services in the community as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Husic. Any comments?
It's a very, very difficult question because next to go
This is the second activity we're taking part in region. The first one is in Croatia, 1 year ago, and this is the second. So we are pleased if you invite us in different activities like this. Thank you.
I think that transborder cooperation between CERT is with high importance for the achievement of successful results against the breaches in information and network security.
Thank you very much. Any questions from you? Frederick? Microphone?
I have a view. Do you consider that the research is only a state institute, or there is a need and if there is a need for private research, do you think that this should be as well activity should be regulated by some? And also another question: what do you think about there is a need for sectorial research, for example, for special and the other maybe for
No, the search is not just the attribute of the state. You have many different ways the incident response capabilities, which we and to go and check how you handle this. United States is a bit special, but in Germany, you, for instance, have the CERT Bund, which is the national/government CERT for Germany, but also big companies like Siemens and Deutsche Telekom have their own CERTs. British Telecom in Great Britain also has a CERT. Telia, the operator, the Scandinavian operator, which is a multinational entity, also has their own incident response capabilities. So I think, yes, the CERTs that have the constituency in the private sector, yes, but that's a different matter from the question, do I think that there is a business model for a national CERT to have private funding? And I think I'll have to say that my answer is no. Why? There's been a couple of initiatives around the globe on doing a commercial CERT that's going to provide services for companies on a national basis, and they've all failed. And I think the main reason is that if you go and check how the countries organize their first responder services, not only on information security, also the firefighters, ambulances, traffic police, and so on, you don't see many cases where this is privately owned, or those are maybe anomalies in strange places. So the first responder services usually are controlled by the state, kind of a public sector. So that's different from, but I think the big companies can benefit, and the big ISPs can benefit from having their own CERT. Now, sectorial, yes. You have, for instance, Switzerland. They have there, the national cert, under the contract with the banks, provides services for the banks. Another initiative is FS-ISAC, but that's not a cert. That's also only the information sharing environment. So you don't have many financial sector certs, I think, yet. Some countries have it. Energy certs, yes, this is under discussion. The big example, the United States with the industrial control systems cert, which actually is aimed towards the critical infrastructure protection.
Yes. Hello, sir. It's John Michael from NATO. Just a couple of questions, Mr. Bosic. Firstly, I want to ask you, does the Slovenian cert work with NCERT in shape? And the second question, regarding your presentation talking about more attacks that are coming, were you involved with the investigation into the attacks by North Korea?
I'll start with North Korea. No, we were not involved in the investigation by the attacks allegedly coming from North Korea. Okay, because we can talk during the break about that, because personally I'm skeptical about the findings. And the first question is, do we cooperate with NCERT, the NATO cert? Yes, when the need arises. Mostly now the military, the Ministry of Defense, is taking the direct communications with NATO, with NCERT, while we have pretty good ties with the Ministry of Defense and the Slovenian Army. You may have noticed a guy in a uniform on the picture of our team. We have training for the Slovenian military, which is setting up or enhancing their response capabilities. So we signed a contract and we have a pretty good relationship with the military. So we don't have a direct line to the NCERT, if I use those words.
Okay, so there is a flow.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? If you don't have questions, you can have a coffee break now. But before that, I have to take questions or to take information. First, you can check out after 12 o'clock, so don't worry, you can have your coffee. And the second one, everybody who has a flight has to be 1 hour and a half before the flight down in front of the hotel. So please, and the third thing is please sign the paper outside for the attendance list for the those who didn't. Thank you very much.
What time do you recommend?
Excuse me? You start maybe 10 minutes before, like 10, 20 maybe next time.
And check out this,
Yes.
the order mentioned.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to our speakers.
Thank you.
Имам се един стил на презентиране. Имам да.
Every year we have something different. We also have
Today we'd like to talk about BYD.
The last.
So this is our slide. We chose it says rather than it says yes. It all depends on me. So
بس الزوم تشتغل.
we have we can go and say, oh, this is an offer to work from home. So, and then now you have to answer the question, how do you recognize that this is fake? You check in, and then you get to the end, and then you get a kind of a badge, the kind of fraud hunter, and so on. So it all depends on what kind of campaign we do. We gather, if you're interested in fraud, you have a category here, and so on. So yes, we try to reach the general public as much as we can with our budget. So, and we think that the video production, like the one that you saw there, is a good way. And we got some really good feedback from this awareness raising campaign, and also won some awards, national content marketing, which is a very big thing. Team dominated by engineers getting the market. And then we have news, and the biggest actually channel for us is Facebook. And we have Facebook. Of course. Yeah, this is the Facebook page, and we have almost 20,000 followers, which is a big number for social media. This is quite a big number, and we have a very good expert working for us. When we started doing this, we told to the ministry we need somebody that's not an engineer, we need somebody with PR skills, will know how to present information, and so on, kind of a more marketing, public relations profile. And yes, she's very good, and she works in our team. So she's part of our team, so she knows on a daily basis what's going on. Yeah.
I don't want to take you away from that, so we can move your talk. Thank you very much.
No problem. If there's any information that you're interested in, I can. I'll send you the scan anyway. So.
Are you available in the end of May, the beginning of June, because we have a May summer school in Bulgaria?
Depends on which dates those are. End of May, no. The last week of.
Till 7th of June.
I'll have to check. Maybe I'll be in Serbia one day out of those, so maybe in the area, so to speak. It depends on the dates. So I may be not the whole week, but I may be available one of those days.
The idea is to come just for this time for cyber security.
Maybe then we can work this out. There's the colleagues from Serbia.
We can always change the
Yeah.
on the other day.
Yeah, the first week of June, yes. The last week of May.
Yeah, it's the first week of June.
Yeah. Okay.
It will be a pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, hello.
I want to introduce myself and maybe to see you.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed with your presentation.
Oh,
and,
thank you.
I think that my company, as a new private sector, has a lot of learning from your experience, because it's a long experience. It's very important, and I think that maybe we should keep in touch and maybe find some ways of cooperation.
Oh, sorry. No, that's somebody else's. That's not mine. Let's check.
Because it's actually, we are thinking regarding my question for private set. We think that there will be place for everyone. I mean, there will be so many challenges and the level of
I think
threatening. So
yes, that way of reasoning, yes, that is true. But on the other hand, the hardest thing for you will probably, if you want to have subscribers to your services, as a cert, the biggest thing will be convincing them that they pay for our services.
Ти трябва всъщност да някакво модела. Добре. За постър ти трябва нещо. Окей. Пръв път ќе видиме како. И сега, како си ви како добро забележав, мора да се рима кога презентираме тоа. Така е да никој правило не може.
Па така е, да, лаптопот може да се стави кај може.
Не може да треба да се движи, мора да се. Ја имам навика кога предавам, знаете, студентите, че кога предавам се движат.
Зашто да не може? Ако ви е така, немам проблем, зашто да не?
Окей, не е бит така.
Значи
Не мора да бит. Само оде, дека се движиме са... Знам дека се снима.
Да,
факт. И овде не е проблем, сам да... Иван Верал сам астератни. Митко Дамски.
Вие ќе бидете први
професора, аз ще говоря по-генерално, одлично, затоа што јас нема за хибридни зборувам, вие ќе спомните за хибрид, а јас за сайбер, значи добре. Аз тоа е супер. Ќе биде и добро, малко поопшто. Не, видите, не може специфично за 15 минути, тоа е тоа. Што се како беше? Значи, ќе зборувам нешто за cyber weapons, cyber warfare. Including cyber defense capabilities.
Cyber defense capabilities.
Да.
Така е. За реално.
Да, таман си.
Пръв път ми е викам, айде да видам как ще видам.
Значи аз съм тук малко за capabilities и по-моето малко няма да влизам.
Негова на професор за
хибрид. Ще бъде не само хака. Окей, ама е да се прави диференциация между хака и аз. Много тежко. Чекай да видим дали презентацията е добре.
Това е тема.
Да. Взема филова сега.
Вземете, но вие сте оставени там за вземане.
Къде ни е презентацията? Аз трябва да стана. Вие от коя институция? Аз съм от Министерството на отбраната. Отлично. Мислев, видях, че сборвам повече сега важно, няма да има време да покрием за хил. Отлично, че ви покрием. Аз не съм експерт в областта, но не е добре. Държава. Излиза, да? Мислим, дека професорите от България, kako се пише, не знам дали още тук, Тодор Тагарев, тук вчера още, знам си. Той за хибриди съм дека има доста статии. Не пошъл колко. Аз работя в друга сфера и трябваше друг да бъде тук на моето място. Обаче човек е зает. Той да ги кълни, ти викам, добре. А вие от кога сте тук? Вие скочат? Не. Двата дойдете да не си знам? Двата дойдете тук? Не, той ще разбира. Затова да блокира тук ще. Ей, аз подписах да ги седи. Къде ми звъниш? Да видиш. Как ви посъдното имате? Що имате какво време? Документи, водени нещо. Това е месец, ние съдим да става идеално нещо. Това ще се бъде преда, както е носител на практика. Но това е организирано и не. И се беше за това. Едно година не се разстава как да биде. Нека биде да или там да се направи. Se nadam da je baš da je to što znate se nadam.
Gdje su bi ga znali? Dve vrste, dve vrste.
Значи се заинтересирани на тия, които решат да се направи да ние почнахме защото съм се работил на сумите организации, които имат никакъв слави, как користахме не да толкова. Почнахме да се работим. Организацията е не по-малко. За да се и това само. Не е тук да ми се звъни много повече. И не ли се праща да е това. Но малко обновен. Позем пак, не го приватива да се да не било на речи, не знам си така. И добре, само като ще направи, добре, никога не ще те пиде. Нека когато ще направи нещо, за това още не са вътре се пидлаки, не са направи човече, там което е своим. Винаги какво направи, ти си много се това, ти гледаш много на които казваш, че не се мучиш, ти е само ето по себе ти. Години, ти не можеш никога да доходиш до комплекция. Не е продължават има кригана работа. Не става малка група, да не трябваше да му завършим. Аз се усетен се не казвам мислене по-скорен, дали ще е нормално, ще не се да се знам. Ама, не го ти викам, значи, и ги опрашам, без готово, ако са не и чека и още нещо. Що съм някакъм, ако ти излезеш от тези, съм не да говоря, защото ти е къде. Това не е точно да не се случва. Специфично на това разговаряне, това е да ти излезе с комисар. Това да поговоря повече, иначе е такива само, че точно мисля се е подпълна некъси, важно е да се реализира.
Okay, yes, just a second.
Да, ами имам някакви други области, али добре.
Окей, може ние нещо на по-агресивни линии.
Да.
И на школите.
Вие да аз видях как се касирате да ми кажете, има проблеми има на интернет и
Има тренинг. И ова и ужива.
Уживате, значи няма да се...
Ужива и е
се отнема още.
Ма не, няма да раз.
Модели.
Лично няма да бъде. Да, да,
потенциран с изборувам, които се знал долу, защото са нещо да се случи.
Сменили ги твоето? Сменили ги?
Ако не разбира компютърни стърлак, тук трябва да се точно подели, защо да трябва да се позираме, защо да трябва да си някакви, които да детектират не само да се да видят как е функционирано, но да се нормализират. Значи не нормално, не го мисля, но няма да се разсъди. Не знам да жала да има нещо, не да се как да се наши деца имало нещо. Няма да се избира по конкретните задачи, да се стигнат до всичките страшни
Грешка стави. Не е проблем. Най-добре, ама не верно. Толкова добри е, значи това е регулация. Ще видим как проблема. Да, знам къде е. Не как не разбираш как именно делам, защото чакай малко тук, ти си най-най. Усмивка. Избор. Може някакъв Почетните за да може да завърши до друга, после знаят какви води си свикни на предмети, които ще се конкретни наши комически и за етика, как не са отлични. Словно, че нещо просто се суди. Аз не може да се не помогли. Не, чудо избори. Сите, основно сите, така се. Я слушам си, не измислих нищо кога правя програмата, че съм включил с тия програми. Не съм запамен, да си не би сега се направо. Ако не си играш, И то нищо здорово да говориш, беше ми казва,
Hvala.
Da, stai.
Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be a part of this workshop. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Vasil Somanov, and I'm founder and president of Research Center for Security, Defense and Peace. I would like, in my personal name and in the name of other members of the Research Center for Security, Defense and Peace, to thank all of the participants for being part of this excellent workshop. It's my pleasure to be a moderator of this panel, which is entitled Cyber Defense Through Prism of Modern Hybrid War. In this panel, the panelists are Mr. Miko Bogdanovsky, who is professor from the Macedonian Military Academy, and his research interests include cybersecurity, networking, virus, and mobile. Another panelist is Mr. Selul Univer, who is security researcher from Turkey and co-founder of SigmaSec. Another panelist is Mr. Ivan Draganov, who is state expert at the Defense Policy Directorate in Bulgaria, and his interests include security environment analysis, defense policies, plans for development at the Air Force, etc. And the last panelist is Mr. Robert Šušić, who is Vice President of Youth Atlantic Treaty Association of Montenegro. So let me start. The first speaker of this panel is Mr. Ivan Draganov, who came from Bulgaria. So, Mr. Draganov, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Let me first start by expressing my wholehearted thanks to the organizers and for the ability for me to speak before such an audience here. You know, it was last week when my political muscles tasked me to speak about hybrid warfare. And then I asked myself, what am I going to tell these people here who are so renowned, particularly in this field? And after 2 seconds of thinking, I came to the conclusion, well, probably nothing. So I kept on thinking later, and I said, Adam, you have to say something. At least try to make an impression. And it was then that I came up with the idea that I would sort of shift the focus from the purely cyber to the hybrid domain. For honestly, I'm one of those people who, when they hear the word cyber, it sounds like Chinese language. Just before I start, that you will hear from me today, personal views or somebody else's views with whom I obviously agree, and do not in any way reflect any official government policy, neither of my ministry or any other governmental entity whatsoever. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm going to speak about today, quite concisely. Origins of hybrid, definition, try to give you a few characteristics of what hybrid is. Perhaps draw a list of how we could respond. And then, well, taking into consideration the fact that I come from the Ministry after all, defense, I'll speak very briefly about capabilities development. I won't go into any details because I know someone from the other panelists will go deeper into the issue. Putting the question to all of you, when was the first time you ever heard the term hybrid?
More than anything.
But what was the first time you heard it? 2 years ago. Anyone else? No? Well, I myself heard the term hybrid in the last year, believe it or not. But as it turns out, the first scientific research to ever mention this term was made in 2006 in a publication by the US War College. And that research paper focused on the activities and the actions of Hezbollah in Lebanon back in 2006. That research paper, Hezbollah, was deemed as a more effective organization than any other existing army for its ability to use hybrid tactics leading to complex, irregular warfare. Then again, the term was used in the 2010 QDR. QDR means Ukrainian Defense Review. And although the term was never officialized, it was directed towards the growing complexity of conflicts worldwide. Despite the fact that there is up to date no agreed definition of the term hybrid, if one attempts to give it a proper, unified, and agreeable definition, we might soon realize that his endeavor might be prone to failure. Let us remember how many definitions there are over the term terrorism. Last time I checked, there were about 115. It was only in August of last year, prior to the NATO heads of state and government summit in Wales, and after, of course, the annexation of Crimea and the Ukraine crisis, that scholars around the world initiated a more deeper analysis of what hybrid warfare actually is. And now, since I'm a staunch follower of the KISS principle, there's a definition that I put up there, which I believe comes closest to explain what hybrid is, both with respect to threats and warfare. Threats posed by adversaries capable of simultaneous adaptive use of conventional and non-conventional tactics. Hence, hybrid warfare is a warfare that we carry out by adversaries capable of adaptive use of conventional and non-conventional means to achieve their goals. It was from 2010 through 2013 that hybrid, the term actually, began to be associated not only with conventional and non-conventional, but also with terrorist criminal actions being used simultaneously in a confined area of operations, where a certain goal ought to be achieved in the most effective and most timely manner. Nowadays, hybrid is also associated with other activities such as the disruption of flow of resources and goods, economic coercion, information and communications interventions, and even attempts to acquire and, God forbid,
use of WMDs. It is obvious that in the contemporary world, covert warfare tactics are used in order to achieve a certain goal. We all know that the good old-fashioned way of declaration of war, when you pinpoint out the exact date of, and even hour of machine is how they're used nowadays. The characteristics of war have changed. We ourselves witness and psyops, psychological operations, spec ops, and clandestine operations as well. Use of the cyber domain as a battlefield, and that's your expertise here. What we now nowadays is about fourth generation warfare, where you wouldn't see any clearly defined boundaries of the battle areas or some other conventional characteristics, I would say. We even witness the complete dilution between the civilian and the pure military domain. The use of disinformation tactics to create a favorable operational environment in order to achieve certain goals is widely used by all. So, ladies and gentlemen, in order to more clearly understand hybrid warfare in particular, we must take under consideration the following. First, the reason for the absence of widely acceptable definition of the term is due to the impossibility for the time being to formulate accepted lists that can be characterized as existing within the hybrid domain. It is still very difficult to make a clear distinction asymmetric threats and hybrid threats. Secondly, hybrid and hybrid warfare in particular cannot be deemed as a complete and oversimplified type of warfare. If we ourselves look back into history, starting from the ancient times going on through the medieval times, say the 18th, 19th, 20th century, then we will agree that almost all wars fought have or possess some sort of hybrid tactics within them. When I spoke with the legal guys in my Ministry of Defense, they told me that the methods used in hybrid warfare occupy an empty space in the norms of international law. For they are being implied outside of international jurisprudence. And up to now, it is almost impossible to undertake legal countermeasures and apply legitimate actions to defend against the methods of hybrid warfare. Fourthly, we have to know that hybrid warfare is not only about non-state actors. On the contrary, as we've observed, it is actually states that organize and carry out hybrid warfare in the most highly efficient manner. Think about Ukraine. In the fifth place, there is an unavoidable internationalization of hybrid warfare. The challenge is that once a conflict becomes internationalized, there is always the danger of affiliating non-state, and by non-state I mean terrorist organizations. Think about Syria. How it started, how it evolved, and become state nowadays. As I mentioned earlier, hybrid warfare dilutes the threats and lowers the threshold for the beginning of the real conventional warfare. or what usually the military, I think, still refer as hot war currently. It was already mentioned here, in fact, in the first panel as well, that think how difficult it is to prove that a cyber attack, once it occurred, how difficult actually, who ordered such an attack. You might have strong leads, but you cannot be certain beyond that on the perpetrator. Then it is extremely hard to clearly predict and identify the initial indications of hybrid threats and hybrid war in order to commence some sort of counteraction against them. Now let's talk about information warfare. Information warfare is a major part of hybrid warfare, and not as previously thought, only in initial stage. Information operations are more centered to influence the human factor in its perception of reality, and in combination with the other methods used in hybrid warfare, to make it more acceptable to comply with the intentions either of one side or the other in the conflict. Information warfare accompanies hybrid actions during the whole period of the conflict, and IW tactics adapt accordingly to suit the needs of those who actually wage these operations. What is new to respect to modern information warfare is that it can achieve the desired results in a manner of speed that only, say, a decade ago, or slightly longer, would have taken a longer period of time. Modern day technology, and you the experts here, I know, is widely used to influence the perceptions of and opinions of almost anyone who has some sort of gadget linked to the World Wide Web. What is of particular interest is that information warfare can be used to alter facts that are more than evident in the view, and vice versa. Let us just think for a moment, remember the little green men in Crimea, and the Russian denial of its support to the East Ukrainian separatists, as well as general denial of involvement in the conflict whatsoever. So, how do we counter hybrid threats and avoid them to go into hybrid warfare? To be honest, I'm not aware of anyone who has drawn a complete recipe. However, despite that, there are a few factors that are of absolute necessity in order to mitigate threats. Firstly, there ought to be an absolutely strong political and government authority able to withstand and respond accordingly to any challenge to its legitimacy. Secondly, there ought to be a clear line of agile command and control system with separate delegated responsibilities, able to counter any such attacks. Thirdly, the planning of capabilities and scenarios to react must be as effective as possible. Fourthly, there ought to be accountability, particularly to the general public, not only in terms of capabilities acquired, but also with respect to policy and every single planned course of action to be undertaken. And lastly, and this is more technical, there ought to be the necessary technological capabilities with which to provide the means to mitigate and respond effectively, even in a more effective way. Talking about capabilities development, in order to have all the previously mentioned, there are a few things that must be done prior. We must know to the best of our abilities what hybrid threats in warfare are, referring back to the definition, purely theoretical even. Then we must be able to anticipate what hybrid threats might affect us directly. We must have the knowledge about that in order to adapt our strategic security and defense documents accordingly. Once these threats are identified, there ought to be a constant education and training to those who will deal with them. In order to have the proper means to counter these threats, however, there ought to be a number of necessary capabilities, both military and civil. There should be, and that is a must, no separation between the two. As we all know, security is becoming more and more complex. And finally, and this is very important, the capabilities at hand ought to be interoperable, both nationally and internationally. That will be all from me. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for bearing with me.
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent presentation, Dr. Dano. So the next speaker of this panel is Professor Mirko Bogdanovski, who came from the military academy from Scotland.
Can we get a microphone to the professor, please? Maria, can we get a microphone, please?
Mr. Bogdanovski, the floor is yours. Okay.
Okay. My name is Mirko Bogdanovski. I'm coming from the military academy. I used to work for 10 years for Electronic Warfare Center for many positions, including the high-level position. And the last 5 years, I'm working in the military academy. I'm also co-founder of C3I initiative in Macedonia. And I'm visiting professor on several other universities here in Macedonia. This is a pretty new initiative in Macedonia. We are all witnesses of the technology, huge technology development in the world that's happening. For example, here you can see the car, which is a car which you can find on the street. But as you can see, this is a Google car, which possesses a lot of sensors. And what you need to do is just to put the destination where you want to go, and you can freely sleep at the backside of the car. Another thing that you can see here is the 3D printer, which can be used to print cars. It can be used to print guns, and it is used to print guns. Some of the companies are using this printer to print the guns. There are prototypes, but for sure in the future it will be 3D, because the terrorists also can use this printer to print guns and other weapons that they can use. I'm coming from the military, so I'm always using this picture at the right side. The Chief of General Staff of the Macedonian Army can control each soldier which is on the battlefield using a so-called blue force tracking, but also using network-enabled capabilities and network-centric warfare technology, which is used. They can watch what's happening on the battlefield through the camera, which is integrated on the helmet and also on the gun of this soldier. Also, with the new technology, which is offered with the with the smart grid technology, we are not only consumers of the electricity, but we can also produce electricity at this time. And in the future, will offer, as a consumers, will offer electricity to the main distributors of the electricity. Actually, using the internet technology, using the global network, we can access to any information from around the world. We can actually, at this time, using our mobile phone, see what happened in Ukraine, see what happened in the Middle East, see how the battlefield is going, is used by the Russians, by the Ukrainians. But we cannot see that by cameras and by internet what happened in the beneath this war, what happened in the cyber area. So we have a problem here, as I can see. Okay, this technology is great, but it is vulnerable. Why? Because there are very smart guys who are using vulnerabilities of this technology, and they're producing weapons against these technologies. They're producing malwares which can destroy the technology. Are there any weapons? Yes, there are. In 2011, Department of Defense developed a list of classified cyber weapons. And what is more dangerous is that this weapon is very, very cheap compared with any other weapon which you can see on this slide. And from the other side, it is very hard to find a place where this technology, where these, let's say, these weapons are placed. You cannot just look at the image, which is taken from the satellites, which is taken from the drones, and to find where these weapons are placed. Compared with that, if we are trying to find where the nuclear weapons are placed, it is very easy for the experts to find this kind of weapons. About the cyber weapon evolution, starting from 2000, starting from 1994, actually, till 2004, it was just classified as basic attack, the attacks conducted by this kind of weapons. But from 2004, and especially after Stuxnet, 2010, this is significant. This is treated as significant threats again against the computers, against the servers, against the military, and against the countries and governments. What about the trends of the attacks which happens in 2004, cyber attacks? We can see from these slides, from this pies, that the governmental institution, industry, and financial institution are more strictened, and they are, the attackers are attacking this institution most. And also we can see that motivation behind the attacks, firstly, is cybercrime, then it is cyber espionage, then it is attacks on critical infrastructure and cyber warfare at the end. From this slide, you can see that almost all banks are attacked by the attackers. Here you can see that at the very beginning, at the introduction of the Bitcoin, two major banks which introduced this Bitcoin was attacked, and millions was stolen at the very beginning of introducing the Bitcoin, at the first week when the Bitcoin was introduced. Also, if we are considering the attack of the target, it happens a year and a half ago. 40 millions of credit cards, of data for 40 millions credit cards was stolen at that time. Also breaching the Bank of America, which was hacked by Anonymous in 2 years ago. What happened then? 328 megabytes of data was stolen from this bank. What are the cyber attack? What are the effects of these cyber attacks? Can I speak without this microphone? I think that you can.
Yeah, but the problem is we're recording.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. According to some information that we can get from the internet, the total losses of the companies for 2014 from cybercrime is $400 billion. It's huge amount of money. If we are considering attacks or vulnerabilities of the critical infrastructure, as you can see, most vulnerable and most attacked critical infrastructure is the energy suppliers, are the energy suppliers. Even the US Department of Energy was attacked. They invest a lot for fighting against these cyber attacks. But the attackers succeed to go to breach their security and to steal a lot of information from there. Okay, from the Department of Energy, they are telling that nothing was stolen which is classified, but who knows? It is safe like that. Not only USA is attacked. You can see that also about 300 companies from Norway was attacked 6-7 months ago. Also, the energy critical infrastructure was attacked. What about cyber espionage? You all know about famous Operation Red October. Governmental institutions, military research institutions were attacked. A lot of that data was stolen. This attack was discovered by Kaspersky Laboratory, but they're pretty much sure that this attack, this espionage, was actually the attackers was using this cyber weapon for several years maybe. Why we should care about this? Because if you look at this pie, you can see that the countries from Southeast Europe was attacked, and they took a huge percentage of this pie. For example, Greece 14%, Bulgaria 7%, Macedonia 6%, Croatia, Serbia. So we are not immune to these attacks. NSA, yes, there are major threats, I can say, for other countries, not for USA. And most of the information that we have for cyber weapons, for attacks, etc., we have from the internet. And what is very interesting that USA is going openly. Even if they make mistake, they are telling that they made mistake. For example, Snowden already mentioned that NSA attacked 50,000 networks, not systems, not servers, 50,000 networks. And it is confirmed that they attacked. Yes, and they wanted to steal data from that. But what happened now, 2 weeks ago, also Kaspersky discovered another weapon that they think that NSA is behind this weapon, but you can find on the internet that it is equation group, and nobody knows who is behind this equation group. But from Kaspersky, they are almost sure that this equation group is behind the Stuxnet group. They are the brain of all these operations. They are the builders of these cyber weapons. They are the smartest in this part of the world. And they are pretty much sure that NSA is behind this equation group. This equation group exists for 20 years. And the new cyber weapon, which was discovered, is the weapon which can be used to make changes on the settings of the hard drive. And this hard drive is becoming slave, not masters, but slaves to this equation group, or somebody who is behind this equation group. Almost all computers in the world are controlled to the hard disk by this equation group. It is pretty new information. We will see what will happen in the future, but let's wait. What about cyber terrorism? I never want to speak about cyber terrorism because there is no information which you can find for sure that this type of terrorism exists. But for sure, we can confirm that terrorists are using the cyberspace. And they're using a lot. They're using for recruitments, they're using for propaganda, they're using for sending information from one to another part of the world. And what is very interesting, they're using their own cryptography, and they're using some kind of information hiding. They're hiding their information with special tools, and you cannot find that there is information which is within some file, which maybe is PDF file, maybe it is video, etc. It is hidden there. It not only hidden, but it is encrypted or there with double cryptography. It is very hard to find such kind of information because the internet world, there are 3 billion people which are using the internet, and it is almost impossible to control all these people, what they are sending, what they are accepting today. What about cyber warfare? Does it exist? Yes, for sure. If we consider the attack which happened in 2007 against the Estonia, later, next year in 2008, Georgia was attacked, also Latvia, other countries from other ex-Soviet countries was also attacked. What happened right now in Ukraine? We are just seeing on TV how military forces are attacking there, how military forces are killing people, or killing children over there. But we cannot see how the Russians are attacking Ukraine's institution over there. And they are attacking on everyday basis. This is the cyber war. As you can see from this picture, which is showing the attacks in real time, the most attacked country is USA. And the attacker almost always is China. I'm not telling that China as a governmental institution from China are attacking, but most of the servers, most of the cyber weapons are placed in China. And also, most of after China, you can see here. You cannot see who is the which are the country which most attack, but same is USA. They are also attacking all the time. Why we are so upset about these cyber weapons? Because everybody who has money can buy this cyber weapon. Not everybody can make, but everybody can buy on the black market. And you can freely find this kind of black markets on the internet. And if you have enough money, you can buy these weapons. What if the terrorists buy? And it's not a problem for them. They have money. And they don't need to build this weapon. They just need to control the weapon. What about countermeasures? Here you can see the president of USA. A month ago, he signed initiative for information sharing between public and private sector. That is what we need to do also here in the Southeast Europe. I don't know if it will work, but at least they started. What they are doing also, they are planning some technology which comes comes from China. What happened in Macedonia a few years ago? It was some donation from China, computers. Great. We can use these computers in the, let's say, schools, but we cannot use within the security institution, governmental institution. We made mistake here. We place these computers within the governmental institution. This is according to me. Okay? But China is also taking the same steps. They banned Windows 8 because they think that USA is trying to control their computers through this Windows 8 operating system. What is the other steps that USA and other countries are taking? They are investing a lot within the cyber defense. Until 2016, 3,000 cyber warriors will be employed within the US government. Also, there are some private companies, like for example, JP Morgan, which will employ 1,000 cyber warriors, which will come from the cyber units from the military. Here is the budget of the USA for cyber defense. $5.5 billion for fiscal year 2016, only for cyber defense. Huge amount of money. Okay, I'll skip this. Which are the best known attacks against critical infrastructure? I already mentioned the attacks against Estonia in 2007. But I will mention also attack against military network in USA in 2008, when this network was compromised by malware, and it is still not clean, this network. This malware still exists within their network. It just mutates from one to another version of malware. What about the attacks against critical infrastructure in Iran, Saudi Aramco, etc.? We all know about Stuxnet. We all know what happened with Stuxnet. That is most unknown cyber weapon that exists until now, but it just mutated from one to another version. It was against the nuclear reactors in Natanz Center in Iran. A lot of nuclear reactors was destroyed. Iran are telling that the people, officials from Iran are telling that they are not destroyed. But for sure, it is confirmed that most of these reactors that you are seeing here were destroyed. What the cyber weapon can do, you can see from this. Is it possible from this video?
It is running.
Okay. This attacks. This is attack which is which the experts are doing through the internet and through controlling the SCADA systems. They are finding the resonance frequency of this power supply, and they are attacking and destroying. This happens in USA. This is just demonstration. It's just shown for official of USA, because they didn't believe that cyber weapon will destroy some critical infrastructure. Why we are so upset here in Southeast Europe? Because we are also using SCADA systems. Water supply, energy suppliers, they are using SCADA systems over here. And if we don't take measures against these cyber attacks, we are pretty sure that we will also attack. And maybe some of our power suppliers or water suppliers will be destroyed. What are the areas within necessary technical analysis by IT experts? We must be sure firstly, that there is no 100% security. For second, we must quickly determine who is the attacker. We must know what the attacker wants to do. We must know what are the direct and indirect effects of the cyber attack. Our cyber warriors, or people which care about cyber defense, they must be trained. There must be war games over here in Southeast Europe, which will be used for training our cyber warriors. These people need to know how to deal with cyber weapons. These people need to know how to analyze these kind of weapons. They also need to know all the technologies that are coming in the future. They also need to know how to use this defense in depth, multi-layer defense, not only using of some antivirus programs or some internet security. They need to use to know how to use routers properly, how to use firewalls properly, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, etc. And they need to know that they cannot rely only on one manufacturer, only on Cisco. Why? Because maybe the attacker, maybe this malware, maybe this cyber weapon know how to breach only Cisco system, but maybe it doesn't know how to breach, let's say, Juniper router. What is the other thing that they need to do? They need to collaborate with other researchers within this area. Let's say somebody which is dealing with law or policymaker, etc. They need to participate on different conferences, association initiatives, etc. We need national cybersecurity strategy. We don't have here. Maybe other countries from the region have, but we don't have. We need to educate people. I think all people, not only IT people, but all people which are using these server systems, etc. We need more funds about cyber security. We need to establish teams, CERT teams and SOX teams, which will deal with this kind of attacks. Also, we need to change the governmental institution needs to change information, to exchange information with public, with the private sector. We need actually to have trained people for not only for defense but also for offense. As I mentioned, I'm coming from the military, and we have a branch which is called infantry. This infantry, there is no infantry for defense and infantry for offense. And in the IT world, we have IT guys which are trained for defense and IT which are trained for offense. They need to be trained for offense and defense at the same time. We need active instead of static defense. Actually, we need proactive defense, not to react. Why? Because we don't want to be forensic experts, to examine what happens within the networks, within the servers, within the machines. We want to catch the enemy at the perimeter network. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. And the next speaker of this panel is Mr. Semih Yunus from Turkey, who will speak about cyber espionage. Mr. Yunus, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone. First of all, thanks to organizers, Mr. Predak and Mrs. Maria, for this nice event. Today I will talk about state-sponsored cyber espionage campaigns. I will also share my own experiences in cyber weapon market. First of all, let me tell about myself a little. I'm co-founder of SignalSec and also principal researcher in this company. We mainly work on reverse engineering, vulnerability research, and exploit development and mitigation technologies. Actually, briefly, I am a breaker. Mainly, I am hunting security holes in popular applications such as Adobe, Microsoft, and SCADA applications. Then we sell them for link. Let's start with threat landscape. In today's cyber world, there are two main threat actors with different motivations, such as cybercrime, financial theft, cyber espionage, and advanced persistent threat. First, let's start with our first actor, cyber criminals. It's easy to understand them. Their main purpose is earning money, lots of money easily. This is a guy from Russia. As we see, he has a Porsche car. He was writing exploits, zero-day exploits for cybercrime operations. But we also entered an era of cyber war, which nations are targeting each other. So the second actor is nations, governments. Stuxnet was a good example of this, which targeted Iran nuclear systems. It's a good example for cyber weapon. I think all of us know about Stuxnet here, right? So I will not mention it again. So there are two main actors, and there are different motivations for cybercrime, cyber attacks, but the attack vector is common. It never changes. There are some popular applications here. I think all of us use this application, right? Microsoft Office, Adobe Reader, media players, Java, browsers, Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, right? We use them in our daily life, personal computers and business computers. But these applications are actually potential targets for hackers. Hackers are discovering zero-day vulnerabilities in these applications and develop malware exploit code to take advantage of these vulnerabilities. When we say zero-day, we mean a vulnerability which is not patched. There is no patch from vendor. Also, security researchers discover vulnerabilities to improve the security of these applications. And also, governments, the most important threat actor, investing $1 million for exploiting zero-day vulnerabilities. We see that kind of news in the media, as you see. Microsoft wants Office zero-day, criminals exploits Adobe zero-day. Every day, we see that a new vulnerability, a new zero-day is published or cached by security companies. So this is the common attack vector in all kinds of cyber attacks. So I agree with senior officer. He says zero-day is the largest fear in cyber world, as there's no patch and mitigation for it. So we should talk about zero-day market. As we see that zero-day is an important and impressive thing in cyber world. So there's a market for it. And in this market, there are two types, legal market and illegal market. If you start with legal market, there are three types of buyers. Governments, as we know, intelligence, police, and military organizations are buying zero-day. So if you discover a zero-day vulnerability, if you have a good contacts in governments, you can sell your zero-day to governments. If you don't have a contact in governments, then brokers come. You can sell your zero-day to a broker. Brokers resell it to governments. So in broker deal, seller and buyer never know each other. Broker buy from the researcher or hacker and sell it to government. And also there are security companies who pays for zero-day vulnerabilities. They buy it for using them in their IPS products, security services. For example, typical point of have packers, VeriSign, pay for zero-day vulnerabilities. So there is also underground market. These guys are, I think, Albert Gonzalez. They performed the largest credit card fraud in USA, and they also used zero-day exploit against Internet Explorer. And they targeted credit cards of people, and we see that how they spend their money. So, what about the prices in zero-day market? First of all, we must know something about before talking about the prices. How we serve our zero-day? There are two types: POC, which we call proof of concept code. For example, you discover a vulnerability, a zero-day vulnerability. You just write a simple code to show the weakness. It doesn't take advantage of the vulnerability. It just shows the weakness. This is POC, as it's cheaper, as you guess. But if you weaponize it, so if you develop an advanced code to take advantage of the vulnerability, it's weaponized exploit, because it allows to attacker to execute commands in target system by using that vulnerability. So this is a nice comparison of POC and weaponized exploit. Because we, security industry, we call vulnerabilities as a bug, software bug. So what about prices? Here's a picture showing the prices, as you see. Adobe Reader, Android, Firefox, it starts from nearly $60,000. And these prices are old, actually, because this picture has been published 3 years ago, if I don't remember wrong. This is also prices that I get from a broker. He says that we minimum pay $20,000 for a bug you discovered in WebKit browser, for example. And this is a newly published price list by an Italian broker. It says a vulnerability affect SCADA systems, critical infrastructures, can cost $1 million if the buyer is a military organization. And brokers, they are always interested in buying zero-days. For example, this is an email that I get from a broker. He says, okay, if you don't have a zero-day to sell, bring your friend. This is our new program, friend bring friend. Bring your friend who has a zero-day and sell us, then you will get bonus payment. This is a nice example to show how brokers work. So, how to hunt zero-day bugs, vulnerabilities? There are two types of people who understand binary and who doesn't understand. We mainly discover vulnerabilities by reverse engineering. And this is the main tool that we use for hunting vulnerabilities, because we hunt, and hackers also hunt vulnerabilities in closed applications. There's no source code, so we use reverse engineering techniques and tools to hunt them. So this is the attack scenario of a cyber espionage campaign used mainly. Mainly, a user browse a website or reads an email, and a website or attachment in the email exploits a vulnerability. For example, it can exploit a vulnerability in your browser, in your Adobe Reader or Office. After that, exploit install the actual malware to the system. And malware perform the actual operations and commands in the system for getting sensitive data and information. What about, for example, we train people for say, social engineering. They don't open attachments in emails or they don't click phishing links. But we also see that attackers are clever. Malware plus advertisement. We say that malvertisement. For example, these are some examples how this attack vector used. Facebook advertisement system used for exploitation. Attackers give advertisements to Facebook, for example, or Dailymotion, YouTube is solve this kind of examples. So you just surfing on Facebook or YouTube or Dailymotion, popular websites, trust websites, these are, but the advertisement published by attacker redirect you to a compromised website which has exploit. For example, flash exploit or browser exploit. So you can also be a victim of exploit by surfing trusted websites. Okay, this is also a new espionage campaign. I think it has been discovered 2 months ago from Russia with love. It's segment also known as Palm Storm, APT78, and Sandra. This attack campaign, espionage campaign, targeted usually NATO members, also potential targets of Russia, such as Chechnya, Ukraine, Georgia, and here is the details of attacks. Attacks start with an email, as we showed in previous slides. It starts with common attack scenario, and email is usually intended for the targets. For example, a conference call in about military organizations or Pacific Economic Conference in this example, and it has attachment. For example, in this email, it just has an Excel attachment, but it's an exploit actually. And after the user opens the Word or Excel exploit, this is how exploit works. First, it drops a malware to system by using vulnerability, and secondly, it opens a decoy fake document to the user. For example, these are fake documents used by attackers in this campaign. For example, NATO Secretary General calls for something, and another example about Israel Defense Forces, but these are actually exploits. They choose a different example fake documents according to interest of target. For example, this attachment, this Excel document used for the military attaches in Turkey, and it's a document about Ankara military attache community. And we analyzed this attack also, and we saw that it targeted key persons in countries and government and military officers usually. For example, in this attack, we had opportunity to get email of the attacker's sent. And after we analyzed the email address, we saw some Turkish names such as Gündüz and Mr. Adem. They are Turkish names. And After a quick search on LinkedIn and Facebook, we saw that, for example, Mr. Adem is an officer at Turkish Naval Forces. So this is my presentation. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And the last speaker of the last panel in this workshop is Mr. Robert Šušić, who will speak about missing cyberspace as a tool in hybrid warfare. So, Mr. Šušić, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Rusmanov. Just wait a moment for the presentation to get on the.
Was it this one?
Yes, yeah, that's true. So I'm going to speak about using cyberspace as a tool in hybrid warfare. As already mentioned, my name is Robert Šušić and I'm coming from Montenegro. So without wasting any more time about introducing myself, I'll continue. Next slide. So today I'm going to speak about cyber defense and hybrid warfare. Afterwards, I'm gonna continue to know Russia as the product of hybrid warfare, and I'm gonna conclude with strategies and as a starting point to face these threats. So, what is cyber defense? What is it? What does it mean when we use that term? In the previous few days, we have heard numerous definitions or variation of the same definitions. However, I choose the one of Alexander Klingberg, which says cyber defense is fundamental, protecting government secrets and enabling national defense in addition to protecting the critical infrastructure that permit and drive the 21st century global economy. So, as you can see, firstly, when we use cyber defense, it is always used in a military concept. So firstly, the government, then the critical infrastructure related to global economy. So basically, it's all related to investment and profit. It tends to let's say, defend those two spheres. So what is the biggest problem when it comes to cyber defense? It is, of course, all known to us, is the cyber terminology, or defining the cyber terms, such as cyber warfare, cyber crime, cyber espionage. There is no limitation which is what, or it's not there's no real distinction between the terms. So most of these terms are defined through different national security strategies, which is a start, but I believe that there should be some common, some universal definition which will eventually prevent us from creating some loopholes, some law loopholes, or for misunderstanding certain actions between nations, and that can lead us to some confrontations, and of course this inability to define common terminology will lead us to inability to create a universal, let's say, countermeasure weapon or tool or whatsoever. So what is hybrid warfare? What do we mean when we use hybrid warfare? As Mr. Draganov said, there is not a common definition once again, and there are maybe some different definitions. However, I chose maybe the broadest one, the widest one. So it says it's a combination of conventional warfare, irregular warfare, and cyber warfare. This is, as I said, the most comprehensive definition. So now I'm going to pass to the second let's say, subject of my presentation. It is no Russia as a product of the hybrid warfare. Well, we have all heard about it, but what is exactly no Russia? How did it happen, or anything? Well, namely no Russia, I'm going to present it as a brand. So on the slide you can see a definition of branding. It says Branding is a powerful tool for influencing mass consciousness because targeted and sophisticated image building creates a shortcut to people's minds, attitude, and behavior. So basically, by using a brand such as No Rush or in that some other spheres such as economy or I don't know PR sectors, branding is a very powerful tool to let's say drive people's needs or behavior whatsoever. So what are the elements of brand? It needs to have a mission, it needs to have a vision, a benefit, values, personality, and distinguishing preferences. There are some studies that prove all these elements of the brand of Russia. I don't think we have enough time to explore all these elements. Now I'm going to pass to the methods I use in the case of No Russia branding. So in order to give the brand legitimacy, they use fractions and groups. Then we have this dissemination of information and disinformation. And finally, we have violence and threats of violence. So fractions and groups. So there's again a definition of it. It says the method implies the directing of fractions and groups in order to directly influence the political process. So it can be done by maybe financial support or maybe I don't know some other ways. But generally, the outcome is that it is intended in subversive activities such as provoking social crisis, coups around armed insurgencies, and so on. So although all of these outcomes are very visible in the case of No Russia. Afterwards, we have dissemination of information. Well, before that, this is a picture of fractions and group used in No Russia, as you can see. There is the flag and everything. For example, that is like the vision or the benefit or the values depends on the view. Now we have dissemination of information and disinformation. So this method implies the use of psychological propaganda in order to distract, to discredit, individuals, ideas, and so on. So I have found these two examples which are really, let's say, obvious or clear or understandable. We have the Russian troll factory and the TV market ownership of Kremlin. So what do these trolls do that I mentioned a moment ago? As you can see, there is a picture of a building on the right side of the presentation. Well, that building has become very famous recently because it has been connected as a center of 250 people or to 300 individuals that work for certain agencies that are connected somehow to the Kremlin, which allegedly are using social networks to spread the idea of No Russia, to increase the, let's say, likability of the all that No Russia brand and whatsoever. So how do they do it? As I said, they use social media, they use blogs, they use different platforms for communication in order to promote their ideas. So they basically share this information and they spread the ideas of No Russia. For example, we have here two pictures. The one says "Keep calm and support No Russia," and the other is obviously showing how No Russia, basically the backyard, Russia protects that part of Ukraine from the Western, let's say, values or dragon or whatever you want to name it. So on this slide, there is a picture of Russian telemarket and ownership. As you can see, all the market media houses are somehow connected to the Kremlin. So the Kremlin is the red the red circle. So each of it, each line shows how much traffic is connected to some of the channels, the TV stations which promote the idea of Novorussia. So as you can see, it is very thoroughly and spread well through the network. Now what these TV market and ownership do? So they're using unfinished mobilizing narrative. So they spread ideas like offensive, attacking, and so on. They cultivate an anxiety and fear. Then they spread the word of a Russian war, and they deliberately falsificate events. For example, certain videos or pictures or something like that. So, for example, there are some slogans that have been repeatedly shown in the case of the TV market. So they use the clash of civilization of Samuel Huntington at their convenience. Then they say that Ukraine is a central to Euro-Asia. Then they say that Ukraine and Russians are one nation, united under the Russian war, again Russian war. Afterwards, they say that Ukrainians are not independent nation, and at the end, Russia's actions are legitimate. Now, the third method used in the case of Russia is violence and the threats of violence. So basically, this method uses violence and the threat of violence in subversive activities again. When we speak about this method, there are three sections or three elements that make this method usable. So the first one is terrorism, the second is diversion, and the third is sabotage. We cannot speak here about terrorism, but there are definitely cases of diversion and maybe sabotage. So the third part of my presentation speaks about strategy. So as we have seen in the previous days, that there are problems when it comes to the strategy. What is it? What does it need to comprehend and whatsoever? But the point that we have all heard of, accepted, is that we need a strategy. That needs to be the basis of every nation or organization in order to combat these threats. So I've chosen this, again, very broad definition of strategy. It said it's a plan of action of policy designed to, I can see,
to achieve a major.
Yeah, to achieve a major overall. Well, that's the point of a strategy. So, what does this strategy needs to have? It needs to have importance. So it needs to see what is important for this strategy. But then it needs to realize what are the threats. Then it needs to define those threats, or define, for example, the cyber warfare, cybercrime, in order to know what it is fighting against, and at the end, it needs to have a goal. So all these elements needs to, let's say, work together in order to make one strategy functional. But that's not everything. I mean, strategy needs to include also some other dimensions as national, governmental, and international. As you can see, there is often a problem when it comes to these three dimensions because certain government organizations and institutions are not really willing to share information. So it becomes a problem when a certain strategy is very successful on the national and maybe governmental level, but it doesn't get implemented in the international sector because it's really sensitive to share information, and it's still far from being implemented. They only maybe talk about it, but nothing more. Also, that there are five mandates of government in cyberspace. So these three dimensions have five mandates. Those are the sectors that needs to be worked on, the spheres where all this cooperation needs to let's say, be fulfilled. Now, I would like to speak about the three Baltic countries, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, as maybe they're maybe possible targets of the hybrid warfare, as, for example, using cyberspace, as we mentioned, the Russian TV market and using the social media and so on. So, what did Lithuania need to face, or let's say prepare for a hybrid warfare? So then they formed a rapid reaction force consisting of 2,500 men from a total of 7,000 individuals in the military, and they placed them around the border, and they are in constant, they're ready in any time to react in any part of Lithuania in a maximum of 24 hours. It's always, it's because there is a constant movement between Russia and the Kaliningrad. So the Lithuania is like the border between it, so it's really sensitive matter. On this slide, which I found, it shows the ethnic Russians in these three countries. As you can see, Lithuania is the one with the least, almost 6%, but they have already taken actions to prevent maybe possible activities. And then we have Latvia with almost 27% and Estonia with again almost 25%. However, Lithuania is maybe the one ahead of them because they have already done something. They do not only talk about it or whatsoever, they have done this mobilization of the forces. Now, when it comes to Latvia, there are some speculation that Latvia is already under hybrid attack. For example, the Russian language media controlled by the Russian government, they removed, as we mentioned earlier, certain speculations, disinformations, falsification of certain events or videos or whatsoever. And they are doing it very effectively, allegedly, to serve some sources. So what my let's say my idea is that Latvia should cooperate with neighboring countries and of course the allies to prevent any hybrid attacks. When the final one is of course Estonia. Estonia is let's say in alert. There is I found this on the National Defense Strategy, which says that they're aware that Russian forces are being on the borders more and more, increasing on a daily basis, and then they should do something, but they, let's say, do not know how or what or how many in order to prevent some provocations, maybe. So we have come to my conclusion. What is cybersecurity? Well, basically, is there is again a definition of Alexander Klinberg, but the point is that there is still no recipe. What should we do with cybersecurity? How we should implement it? I mean, there are really some fruitful directions, ideas whatsoever, but it's still being far from completely being implemented or done anything in this sector. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you very much. So we end up with the presentation for this panel. So I want to thank all of the participants of this workshop, especially to the speakers of this panel, on which we got a lot of important information about the modern hybrid war. I'm not going to sum up this panel because we are late and it's time for questions. Any questions?
Because of the time constraints, guys, we will have the chance to ask the speakers during the lunch. Is that okay? I think that will be perfect. Thank you again for the speakers. We have to do the final wrap-up session, the final remarks of what we have actually done in this couple of days. Thank you for the speakers. Thank you very much. Okay, so rounding only, I would like to thank all of you for being a participation here, as well as being a speaker and everything. But before we do, I have to give up a total wrap-up session, like what we actually have covered and what we actually have learned. We all have agreed that actually cyber defense and security, it is of a great importance. Indeed, people feel nervous and stupid when they hear about cyber word. Nervous because it is important, and stupid just because they don't know
They're scared and they don't know how it works. Cyber security is not only national security, but also international. People are careless about security. Therefore, we are starting and we are becoming more involving and pursuing educational system in the region to pursue students and new generations in educating regarding cybersecurity, cyber defense. Moreover, we've seen a couple of countries have started their reforms regarding cybersecurity. Yet, some organizations and institutes are taking the role of awareness programs as well. However, we can see that the process of reforming it's not so easy and it takes a long time. We have seen the current threats which Balkans are occurring. Therefore, we've seen the motivations which are political, economical, and individuals. We have seen the long path of Estonia. We have seen for 2 decades what they have done. So the path is not easy step. We have seen how they have created a cybersecurity defense league. We have seen how they are taking approach to cyber as a tool, but cyber as a space as well. We've seen the end user is actually the weakest part of cybersecurity. Moreover, we have the principles of how we shall create and how we shall implement cyber strategy. We have taken the approach of multi-stakeholder. We have adequate to the environment. We have seen that actually the government is involved. We have seen that the capabilities and to identify on sector-specific areas is crucial as well. We have raised actually a really good question here. Why is so hard to create a cybersecurity strategy institutes in the region? We also have taken upon the technical view of cybersecurity. We have seen the stages of attacks. Also, we have seen the security approach that we have to detect, that we have to respond, that we have to prepare, that we have to protect and prevent indeed. Attackers have an advantages. And also, technical measures are unfortunately not enough. We have seen that number of attacks are increasing in the region from the regional threats, as well as we have seen that actually experienced challenges are not just to create a strategy, but also how will you react? And we had a very good example. React as a firefighters. Then we have the prism of the technology, cyber espionage, cyber hybrid war. We had cyber terrorism, cyber weapons, what they can do, but also we touched upon how to create a cyber defense, strong cyber and countermeasures. And finally, I would like to thank you all for taking a participation, being a pleasant to talk and exchange knowledge with you, of course. Also, I would like to thank NATO for founding such program, and we hope that this kind of workshop will continue in next years in the region. We have seen actually that the region is becoming more and more vulnerable. Therefore, such an event will create communication, networking, and it will initialize for sharing information with private, public, social societies, and everyone in the region. We have to take a step to a next level of a defense. Hence, I had an idea 2 years ago that actually this region is lacking a cybersecurity defense league. Therefore, I'm looking forward to announce that this initiation and this workshop will be the first time to start and create a cybersecurity defense league in the Balkan region. And we hope we will have the approach and good experience and lesson learned from Estonia, Baltic countries, and so on. And finally, I would like to conclude with that actually the first step towards security and defense, it is the awareness, indeed. However, the next step is implementation, acceptance, and react. Thank you very much all again. Please enjoy the lunch and see you probably soon. Thank you.